With the anticipation of the upcoming releases of Brand New Day and also Beyond the Spider-Verse, I decided to do my next marathon on all the Spider-Man movies. He is my favorite superhero, so I didn't mind rewatching all the movies, even though I've probably seen them dozens of times. If you're new to this channel, this is my rating system for the quality of these movies, and this is how they will be placed onto the tier list. Just a reminder that this is my opinion, and if you guys disagree or have another opinion, I'm very interested in hearing what you guys think, so please comment down below. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and like for more videos like these. Just a heads up, spoiler alert ahead, and without further ado, let's get started. This is a great introduction to the character and I enjoyed the pace throughout, since it felt like it breezed through the origins of how Norman and Peter gained their powers. The action sequences are entertaining even though they are more goofy than I remember. Willem Dafoe's spectacular performance as the Green Goblin steals the show. Uncle Ben's final speech to Peter in the car was much better than I remember as it felt more meaningful. I like Tobey's performance as Spider-Man as he is more quirky with his jokes during battle and it's prominent during the wrestling scene. The web suit and the Green Goblin armor are some of my favorite live action superhero movie suits. J.K. Simmons is also a perfect choice for J. Jonah Jameson. The Green Goblin really showcases his violence and how menacing he is to the city with how destructive he is throughout his appearances. Bombing the building, exploding the bridge, and even attacking Aunt May are just insane examples of how crazy he really is. The elite characters and fight scenes make for a great movie. This tier list will start with this movie going into the A tier. This movie was slightly better than the first in my opinion. I really like how even after becoming Spider-Man, they are still able to showcase Peter being an absolute loser. Doc Ock is a monstrous villain and I love the origin story of how he got his powers. Many memorable scenes occur in this film, from elite sequences to the small memes that live up to this day. The hospital scene where the arms take over Octavius was a terrifying sequence, and you can tell that Sam Raimi really tried his hardest putting aspects of his horror expertise in this movie more than the first. The train scene is iconic and really put the stamp on Spider-Man's strength and heroism. I think that Mary Jane is the worst character in this movie, because as much as I agree that Peter was pretty much an empty seat to her, she got married to a guy she met in like 11 days. Obviously, this movie is most known for the train scene and a great villain in Doc Ock, but I think the arc that Peter goes through is very underrated. Like said before, they really make him look like a loser with the small inconveniences he goes through, and then he picks himself back up to become Spider-Man again once he has to protect Mary Jane. The best thing in this movie is easily Doc Ock, and I want to credit that amazing transition that happens when Spider-Man is swinging and how it goes straight to the reflection of Doc Ock's glasses. This movie is better than the first in my opinion and will be going into the top of A tier. Yeah, this was not the same level as the first two. Obviously, I could recall this not being the same quality, but outside of the memes, there aren't really any memorable moments in this movie, at least on the good side. The entire Bully Maguire arc was just not it. The bar performance scene was very cringe, and so was the unnecessary dancing through the streets. I really don't understand why Peter was getting so caught up in the fame, and even kissing Gwen, because he wasn't even on the symbiote by then. It made me wonder if I completely missed him getting possessed by the symbiote, by how strange his behavior was through the start of the movie. There aren't even any great fights in this movie compared to the first two, and in my opinion, the Sandman train fight was the best in this movie. I still give credit to the creative way Spider-Man defeats Venom, and using the pipes to beat him is probably the most memorable scene in this movie for me. I don't know what I could pick as the worst thing in this movie, as there are many flaws to go through. Like mentioned before, Peter's aggression and strange behavior makes his character very confusing for me. Mary Jane's jealousy also made no sense, since she seemed to have a problem with everything, and was annoyed by things that she knew she was getting into. For example, she cannot just fathom Spider-Man receiving all the flowers, and she was more selfish than she was when it came to having a good reputation. Eddie Brock's Venom was also awful, and I hate that he didn't have a different voice. Sandman was solid, and it was cool to see Harry take on the Goblin mantle, but the standout in this movie for me was for sure the symbiote Spider-Man suit. Like, look at this. This is probably my favorite live-action superhero suit ever. It also created some of the hardest pictures of all time, so at least this film had one thing to take away from it. Unfortunately, there were too many unnecessary additions to this movie, and not much great moments to redeem them. The movie was still solid, but there are many things I would want to skip over if I were to rewatch it. This will be going into the C tier. This one is a weird one for me because it's pretty entertaining as a superhero movie, but very flawed as a Spider-Man movie. Let me go through the good things first, since I can rant about how bad this is as a Spider-Man movie. I like how Flash is just a human being for a bully, as he's a dickhead, but he also has a heart when it comes to Peter. I really like how cocky Spider-Man is when he fights, and is the best representation of Spider-Man having those corny lines while beating up his foes. The lizard fight in the school is probably the best fight in this entire movie, and the best character in this movie is Gwen, who is also the best love interest in across all Spider-Man movies. That's probably the only thing that this Andrew Garfield series has over any other Spider-Man franchise, since it is just not a good franchise. I wouldn't say it is a flaw, but I really like how they give Peter parents in this movie, since it's literally unexplained in every iteration I can think of. But I don't like how Peter just doesn't hide his identity at all, and really takes off his mask in the first save when rescuing the child from the bridge. Him also instantly telling Gwen and Captain Stacy finding out was just insane to me, cause Spider-Man's secret identity is something I feel is a huge trait of his character. I also don't like how cocky he is as Peter, really drifting away from his loser character and just literally being that cocky superhero as himself. The suit is also ugly as hell, and I hate the yellow eyes. Lizard is also ugly since he's just a dinosaur. Like, how do you not give him a ripped lab coat and not even give him a snout so he looks like the comic lizard? Instead, they choose to pick a more humanoid design rather than a more reptile design for this villain. There's also the first fight scene where Peter just beats up the guy in the alley, where I felt like this should have been his first fight wearing the suit, and it just felt wasted to just have him as Peter fighting this whole group of crooks. The final battle was whatever, but the best part of that was the construction crew members lining up the cranes to help him swing. The movie is entertaining, but just a very bad adaptation of the Spider-Man characters. This wasn't a bad movie at all, but its entertainment makes this a solid movie rather than good, so it'll go into the C tier for me. This movie is a huge mess. Harry and Norman are awful characters, and so is Max. Electro and Goblin are terrible, and so is the one shot we get of Rhino. Max being this nerdy worker is just so cringe-worthy to watch, and the genetic sickness storyline with the Osborns was a unique idea that just didn't deliver because of how bad and ugly Harry was as the Goblin character. The plot is also very boring, and it was hard to pay attention to. There are still good things in this movie like Electro's theme song, Gwen's death scene, the slow motion sequences, and an incredible suit that looks so crisp and clean during the battles. Gwen and Peter's relationship in this movie was fun to go through and is a strong point when going through this movie. Unfortunately, this movie was just such a mess that I completely disagree when people say that they should have done a third movie, because this entire franchise just felt like a shitty adaptation of the Spider-Man universe. Gwen and Andrew's performances are great, but his rogue gallery is horrific, and even the Sinister Six tease really didn't move me because of how awful they make these villains. I also think that his return in No Way Home really made people forget how bad his franchise is, since these movies are not fun to watch. I will say that there's some memorable moments and things in this franchise that keep the fan base alive. I think the peaks in this movie are higher than the first, but the lows really drop the movie's rating for me. This movie will be going into the D tier for me and is easily the worst Spider-Man movie. This movie was way better than I remembered because of how fun it is. Vulture's intro was cool, and I really don't dock points for him having a Tony Stark related origin, since this is the MCU and I know that they purposely try to connect everything. Like, as much as I wanted a creepy, psycho version of Vulture, I just accepted that this is what makes most sense. Peter's friendship with Ned had some funny moments, and I really like how he interacts with a lot of the characters. As much as I want him to be that loser character, it doesn't make sense since he's already been Spider-Man at this point, so I like how he's established his confidence while balancing the nerdy lifestyle he has. The suit is solid, and there are fun fight scenes like the bank robbery with the Avengers and the first phase of that Vulture fight where he gets the building toppled on him. The Washington Monument save was okay, and so was the car chase with Shocker. A lot of scenes in this movie are mediocre to me, like the Karen connecting scene where he's waiting in the storage, and even the final battle is whatever. I think the biggest flaw in this movie is how a lot of the characters are just underwhelming or lead to nowhere. Shocker not having a cool suit really disappointed me, and the fact that they have Tinkerer, Prowler, and Scorpion introduced in this movie and not used them for any of the trilogy's movies is very disappointing. Even the fairy scene didn't really hit to me since it was more of an Iron Man save than a Spider-Man save, but it was cool to see the mirrors to the train scene from Spider-Man 2. I think the best parts of this film is the little vlog Peter takes of the Civil War battle, Ned's porn joke, the cool surprise that Zendaya is a new MJ, and easily the best scene is the plot twist of Vulture being Liz's dad. The intense interrogation scene between Vulture and Peter in the car is great, and is easily the most memorable part of this movie for me. I think this movie is good, but if I'm being real, this is for some reason the most boring 7 for me that I can think of. This is going into the B tier, but will probably stay at the bottom of it since in my opinion, it's barely good. This movie gets way too hated because this is a very fun, action-packed movie. Ned and Betty's relationship was so funny and was a great running comedic relief throughout the movie. I'd also say the same thing with the awkwardness between Happy and May's relationship as well. Mysterio is such a great villain, and as much as I can empathize with the dislike for his Tony arc origin story, I think he redeems his status as a villain with the amazing final battle. Even with the deceiving multiverse story, him still being able to cause that much destruction while being a completely regular human being is insane in my opinion. The final battle was so entertaining and intense, and I really like the Peter Tingle scene where he locks in and just ignores all of the drone's deceptions. The best sequence in this movie, which in my opinion is one of the best visuals in any Spider-Man movie, was the first Mysterio battle after he receives the glasses. Just the amazing illusions that Mysterio uses to fight Peter was really fun to see, and some of the coolest imagery in any of these movies. I know people don't like how this movie is an Iron Man Jr. type storyline happening, but I honestly saw it for what it was literally saying, where Spider-Man is now trusted to be the main guy of the Avengers, the top superhero. I honestly like that this high school kid who was already put in a pressure situation by being part of that Civil War team and by Iron Man's side is now struggling to quickly adapt into being the main guy of the biggest superhero group in the world. With the funny relationships going on with the side characters and the entertaining battles and sequences we get with the main characters, this movie is honestly one of my favorites and is way more fun than Homecoming. This movie will be going into the A tier for me. This movie was one of the best theater experiences I've ever had, easily top 3. But going through this rewatch, which was actually my first time seeing the extended version, it honestly does not recapture how phenomenal the first watch in theaters really was. First off, I want to give a lenience to the fact that they had to use old scenes for Sandman and Lizard, since there were COVID problems during filming. I wish we actually got the real actors, instead of them being CGI the whole time, but for valid reasons, I wouldn't dock points for it. I'd say the biggest flaw for me in this movie is just a very cluttered multiverse storyline happening, because I think that trying to send everyone back to their universe made sense for the story, but wasn't as entertaining to rewatch. It was cool to see all the villains come back, and I'm glad that they remade Electro, because he was trash as that blue specimen. I think the Doc Ock battle on the bridge was pretty cool, since Peter decided to whip out his own Iron Spider legs to match up for the battle. I kinda wish that Doc Ock had more in this movie, but at least he had one battle against Spider-Man before being turned back into a good guy. Willem Dafoe returns perfectly as the Goblin, and I wish he kept the suit with the purple on it instead, but I guess it was okay to see him rock the green and purple as well. He had no rust and really picks back up that menacing and terrifying villainy and destruction, especially in that great apartment battle and by killing Aunt May. The Aunt May death scene was very emotional and was one of Tom's best scenes as Peter. I honestly felt like he looked just like the original Insomniac Spider-Man before the redesign. The Doctor Strange battle to me was very underrated since it had great visuals and it's cool to see two heroes fight against each other. One thing this movie lacks from the previous two are the funny relationships and side characters that keep the movie entertaining. It seemed to lack the comedic relief that the previous two movies showcased throughout jokes and side moments. Obviously, the best thing in this movie is the return of Tobey and Andrew. One of the most surreal moments in movie history, and the thought of all live-action Spider-Man coming together for one movie was a fantasy dream for the longest time, and I'm really thankful that we actually got it. It creates interesting interactions between them like the lab, the villain comparison, and the Avengers joke. The final battle was decent, but it had its great moments like Andrew redeeming his mistake and saving MJ, the trio swinging scene, the small reunions that included the Miles tease, and one insane moment to me, which was Norman stabbing Tobey, cause I deadass thought he was gonna die, and when I tell you my heart dropped. The post credits with Venom was cool, but we'll see if it leads anywhere or just basically scorpions it and is just useless for years. With a mid and stale story, this movie gets carried by the surreal moments that only really hit for a first watch or theater experience. If you were to ask me when I first watched this, I would rate it a 10, but as a movie in the replay value, this movie is honestly just good, since it is surreal to see different eras of Spider-Man on screen together. This will go into the B tier. This movie is literally perfect. It's so good and even better when rewatching. The animation is outstanding, and I love the comic look along with the difference in art styles for the different Spider people. Miles' origin story is fun to watch, and I love the comic book representation when introducing the other heroes. The music in this movie is also top tier, and is huge when it comes to probably my favorite sequence in all Spider-Man movies. The leap of faith scene where Miles finally understands his power creates such a powerful and cool scene, especially after seeing his struggle throughout the whole plot. Another interesting aspect of this movie is that this is the first movie we see where Spider-Man literally dies, obviously not counting Infinity War since he didn't actually die, but it's crazy to see one of the most beloved heroes ever and how his death impacts the entire city. Some super cool moments in this movie are the Uncle Aaron as Prowler reveal and the Doc Ock reveal. I really enjoyed the fight at Aunt May's house, and I like a lot of the unique villain designs when it comes to Norman, Kingpin, and Scorpion. Prowler's death scene was very tragic, and his theme song is amazing. All his chase scenes after Miles were so cool to watch, and he's one of the standout characters in this movie for me. There are also some really fun jokes in this movie, like the "Who's Morales" line and Peter B. Parker just blatantly lying about handling the divorce well. This movie is filled with dramatic moments, cool sequences, amazing designs, phenomenal animation, top tier music choices, and a super entertaining plot. This is one of the best animated and superhero films of all time, and this will be going into the S tier. It is perfection. This movie is also perfection. It is spectacular. The music is just as phenomenal, and the animation somehow got way better. With all the different spider people, more animation styles are present, and the fact that they have all these unique styles and it's working is amazing. The intro was intense, and is a great introduction to Miguel and Jess. The whole canon event plot is such an interesting and intense storyline as well. All the new characters are amazing, and it's great to see a little nods to the other past ones during the HQ scene. I like the Donald Glover, Insomniac, Andrew Garfield, and Spectacular Spider-Man cameo. Spot is such a crazy villain, since he's like a nobody in the Spider-Man rogue gallery, but he's so destructive and important to this storyline. I also love the meaningful interactions throughout this movie, like Miles with his parents. His first convo with his dad after the Spot fight, and also his convo with his mom after Gwen leaves, was a very emotional connecting talk between them. The plot twist of Miles being in a different universe was absolutely insane when I first saw it in theaters, and is still such a great reveal after a rewatch. It was very hard to pick the best thing in this movie, but I honestly loved the spider chase scene the most. Seeing Miles battle all these different spiders was so cool and fun to watch, and you get to see some really funny and entertaining action during the sequence. Everything about this movie is phenomenal and somehow is a step above an already perfect movie. This movie is easily the best Spider-Man movie so far and will go into the top of S tier. By the time I record this, it's maybe middle of June, but I'll probably have this released right before Brand New Day drops, so I'm excited. I am so glad I watched those animated ones for last because they are so perfect and I cannot wait for Beyond. I think that each live action Spider-Man actor succeeds at something special to their franchise, but there are flaws throughout. Goblin, Doc Ock, Mysterio, Prowler, and Spot are probably my favorite villains so far throughout these movies. I honestly think it's fine that Tobey and Andrew didn't get their other movie since it created such a surreal moment for No Way Home. I hope to see them again on screen, hopefully for Doomsday or Secret Wars, which will lead to my next marathon, the MCU. If you guys want to share your opinions on the Spider-Man movies, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed that video, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. That's all for today, and I'll see you guys in the next one.